out with the old, in with the new. We understand all of that. There comes a time, but there's so unknown about these guys. I just feel that I know a little bit about him enough to be able to put him on that list.
Welcome into the ranking show here on ProBox TV. Download the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying with family. One thing we can be thankful for here at the ranking show is a 147-pound division. Historically fantastic, but right now in 2024, wide open might be the best way to put it. What did we do? We gave our experts a top 5 list to rank their 147-pounders. We discuss who's right, who's wrong, and who's the outlier. In studio, I'm with the champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, the coach, Teddy Atlas, joining us via Zoom. Let's get started right now. Number 5, we have different picks for every single person on our panel, which I absolutely love. Chris, I'm going to start with you for a reason here. You're the only one to have Mario Barrios at number 5. Did his performance last Saturday kind of turn you off to him as a really elite 147-pounder? Did not look great his last time out. Was that part of it?
Before I even get into this, last ranking show we did, I said I have a qualifier for everything I'm saying. Today, I'm going to have a disqualifier for everything I'm saying. Because
I love it.
This weight class is chaos. And it's
Total
turned
chaos.
upside down in its head. And I believe at any point, a 140-pounder could jump up and become a world champion in this weight class. I think Ryan Garcia could mosey his way back into the sport and become a world champion in this weight class.
Please,
Teddy, you can always interject. You're allowed.
I'm sorry. You guys are gentlemen. You guys are smart. You guys are the best. Just one thing. We usually do these movie things, me and Paulie, but I got to inject to
old out of line yourself.
An old TV show. What's my line? That's what this show should be called.
Yes.
What's my line?
Exactly.
What's the other one? Whose line is it anyway?
It is your line, but the Abel Ramos fight, of course, he gets a draw. Abel Ramos lightly regarded. It was a war.
Fight,
yeah, it was a war. It was very entertaining, but not the kind of performance you'd expect from an elite guy at 47.
So I had Mario very high.
Yes.
Before that fight, this past Saturday. So I would have had him much higher on this list. I felt he deserves enough respect to still be on the list of the top 5. He is a world champion in this weight class, and he fought a very, very tough. Listen, Abel Ramos, I don't want to discredit him by calling him a German. Really, he's German because he has 6 losses and a couple of draws. He's been beat by a lot of guys on the way up, but he's always tough. He's always in close. He's always right there. He's had a long career fighting very, very tough guys. He had another very, very tough fight the other night. Fantastic fight, actually. Put on a performance of a lifetime. But I just saw so many flaws in Barrios that other guys in the weight class and even other guys in lower weight classes could really take advantage of. So for me, he's just making it into the top 5.
Yeah, Teddy, you were the only one to have Conor Benn in our top 5. I had him at number 5. Tell us why.
He's talented enough. I don't know. I mean, look, he's got 23 fights. He's 23-0. He was off for a while. I get it. But, I think he's ready to – I think he's talented enough to fit in. I mean, I go with X's, O's. I go with talent. I go with heart. I go with the mental mindset, all of that. All these guys aren't tested except for, Barrios and Ennis and, guys like that. I didn't mean to let the cat out of the bag, but I don't think I'm shocking.
We all know. Right.
I don't think I'm shocking. I don't think I'm shocking anybody. You didn't need to have the amazing question to figure out that one. But I just seen him as he's talented enough, and he's got that thing. And you know what that thing is? It's kind of a big thing. It's called England. it's kind of large.
Big place,
right?
It's called the country of England, and anyone who is anybody and is at a certain status, which he obviously is, in this business, they become bigger when they're able to fight over there. They put 60,000 people in Wembley Stadium if the doorman is fighting the restaurant owner next door. I mean, they're fantastic fans. They're crazy about boxing. I think because of his talent, because of his the geometry of where he lives, or the geography, I'm sorry, of where he lives. I think when you put all of that together, he has to be put on that list for me because again, it's what's my line. It's the list of we love new blood, we love new faces. We love to rejuvenate things. We understand out with the old, in with the new. We understand all of that. There comes a time, but there's so unknown about these guys. I just feel that I know a little bit about him enough to be able to put him on that list. That's all. And Chris made a great point that that guys like Garcia and Haney and Teofimo, they're gonna be up there soon, and probably sooner than later. And you're gonna have to make room for them because of their resume, because it was lower, but what they did at a lower weight. So,
Teddy, we're gonna have to do the show again in a couple weeks, I think.
You might have to.
100%.
Especially if our number one moves up, but we'll give that in a second. Paulie, you were the only one to have Brian Norman at number 5. Everybody else had him a little bit higher. A lot of power, 20 knockouts and 26 wins, undefeated, a little untested to you? Tell me why.
Yeah, a little bit untested and hasn't convinced in every performance. He's been a bit untested, and then he's been a bit inconsistent. I think there's an upside to Norman, which is why he belongs in the top 5. He's also got a world title, but I'm not totally convinced of him and of his consistency yet. And this is just an inconsistent weight class in general. There's not a lot of guys in this weight class that really impress me where I'm like, oh man, this guy's going to be around for a while. He's going to be tough to knock off. I don't know that anybody really has that, gives me that feeling at all. So that's why I had one of the reasons I had Norman at 5. I feel like there's other guys who may have a little bit more upside. But again, these guys are there's sort of an imbalance there to the point where on any given night, these guys might be able to knock each other off. So I had them at 5 for that reason. I mean, it's not like there's a big difference from some of these other guys. I'm also very, very unimpressed by Barrios. I'm very unimpressed by, this whole weight class pretty much.
Yeah, and we got him split hairs. It is a top 5 amongst elite fighters. So let's jump to number 4. Chris, you and Teddy both had Brian Norman Jr. at number 4. To Paulie's point, part of it is you look at upside. Like, potentially, if he put it all together, how good could he be? That's my question for you. If he put it all together and was consistent, how good can he be? Could he be the guy in this weight class?
And that's why I rated him this high. And that's why I have him where he's at, because he looks so good in that Santillan fight. And I called a lot of Santillan's fights. I've actually called a lot of Norman's fights as well on the way up. And he's been impressive where he's supposed to be. He's been unimpressive where he was not supposed to be, or was actually supposed to be an easy fight. But Santillan was on such a run. He was upsetting the apple cart over and over and over again. He was the kind of guy that was kind of getting looked over, but he's just dogged in his approach and kept getting in there. Very workmanlike with Santillan. And Norman Jr., man, he was so on that night. If that kid can be that on against a very solid guy like Santillan, then yeah, I'm going to rate him at number 4. I mean, the kid can fight. And if he can do that, if he can repeat that, and it also maybe he's got that 30% better by being world champion situation, the kid could be a problem.
Ted, you had him at number 4 as well. Is it that, as Chris says, maybe that upgrade from being champion? Do you think he could be a real player in this weight class, 1 or 2 maybe?
Listen, I just replicate what one of my smart colleagues just said. Really, he beat a good fighter. He beat a talented fighter to me. He showed me a lot of these. There's a lot of question marks about all these new guys, or most of these new guys. The ones we don't have question marks about, we know who they are. And then the 140-pounders that will come up, and that's why we're going to let them come up. We'll let them come up, and we'll let them sit. I don't think any of my colleagues will argue with me. We'll let them get right in there, because of their past performances at the level of those past performances. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know about these guys. So I'm grabbing at whatever I can grab at. I grabbed at that win. I grabbed that showed me enough. It showed me enough because we are judging these guys on potential. That's really a big part of what we're doing. We don't always do that in the ratings. We usually do it by what they have already shown us at a high enough level that we can feel pretty solid about those guys being there and maybe even staying there. But that's not the case here. These guys are musical chairs, potentially. These guys are interchangeable, like Paulie said. So at the end of the day, I had to pick from something. I had to use some kind of protocol, some kind of criterion. That was my criterion, to see one of the young guys, one of the untested guys that I thought was tested a little bit more. You know, a little more. Like Paulie would say, you know, in good fight. He insulted me a little bit. A little
You're
bit.
a little out of line yourself. On the house.
Yeah,
On the house.
A little bit.
Drinks are on the house.
On the house. So, Paulie, I got to ask you, Paulie, for moving on to number 3, because you had Mario Barrios at number 4. Number 3, Paulie, I was really surprised. Conor Chukhadzhian, you had him at number 3. Was he a guy, Paulie, that elevated himself in defeat? You're the only guy that had him in the top 5.
I thought he was a pesky guy in the first time around with Ennis, and capable, just took the wrong approach. And I thought he was even more pesky the second time around, where he took the different approach, you know. And then I look at
SOB the second time.
You know, I look at you know what Barrios struggles with. I look at what Norman has struggled with, and I see more consistency in Chukhadzhian. You know, and you can say, oh, how was he consistent? You know, he lost both of those fights with Ennis. Yeah, but in both of those fights, he gave, you know, the bona fide number 1 guy in the weight class the most problems he's had in his career, you know, and I think that says a lot. I think you just got to match him with some of these other guys, and I could see him beating them. Also, I'm gonna say,
please,
it took everything inside of me to not put Floss on this top 5 list, because I think Floss probably beats Norman and Barrios as well.
What I'm very curious about also, Chris, Cody Crawley, 22-0, made your number 3. Please, only person who put him in the top 5, please talk about it.
Well, I actually have to take him out because he hasn't fought in such a long time, and I didn't realize it was from a retina injury. So I'm not sure if we.
So he was almost back in the circle of
Oh,
trust,
he's
and now
back
he's
out.
out of the circle of trust.
Just right
So
at the
I'm going
edge
to
of the
swap
circle.
him and put Karen in there. But let me talk about Cody, because Cody, I think, deserves some time. Cody beat Abel Ramos Jr. Abel Ramos, excuse me, not too long ago. He had a good little run of some guys that he stepped in and really just outboxed them. He's a very good boxer, southpaw. He's tall. I actually had him in camp with me when I fought Manny Pacquiao. He's one of my sparring partners that I brought in. And very talented kid, hardworking kid, phenomenal conditioning. Very, very focused, very disciplined. He's got a good win over Josecito Lopez, where he dominated. He has a good win over, I just said, Abel Ramos, which is a very tough task,
as we just saw,
obviously. He is a very talented young guy. He's undefeated.
He's talented. Let's leave it at that. He's talented.
He was supposed to fight Jaron Ennis. I remember the fight fell through. I forgot it was because of the retina, and I didn't realize how long ago that was. So I probably should take him out of the rankings, but. Champ, you're very, very, very smart, obviously. Karen Chukhadzhian is a good replacement.
Now, Teddy, of course, you had Mario Barrios, of course, in your number 3 spot. So Mario had our 3, our 4, and our 5, depending on who you ask. That's how controversial he is. But let me start on number 2. All of you, Stanionis at number 2. Teddy, the universal number 2, if, as we expect, Jaron Ennis might move up to 154 pounds. Is he the number 1 guy? Could he really hold on? In the musical chairs, could he hold the number 1 spot? Stanionis, to you.
We're going to find out. That's the most honest answer I can give you. You know, again, you know, we're like those stockbrokers. You know, we're trying to tell you what stocks we think are going to go up, but we can't guarantee it. You know what I mean? We're looking at, you know, past performances the best we can, you know, and potential for a stock to buy, to sell. I'm saying buy this guy because of what I think I see in the company. You know, looking at the company, looking at the way they run things, looking at you know, his talent, his ability, you know, the things, the tangible things we can see, even in untangible areas as far as who he's been in there with. So, you know, we're projecting. I'm projecting a little bit, all right? I like to project. We all project pretty well on this crew here. And I'm projecting a little bit. But I want to finish my piece by going to Paulie now. And I agree with him. You know what? He did a good job putting Karen, because I'm not going to try to pronounce his name as well as my colleagues do here. They're better than me with that. But he did a good job putting him there. You know what? He belongs. Really, and I'm not afraid to correct myself.
Paulie made us look bad.
Paulie
Coach.
made
Paulie
everybody
made us look bad, Coach.
You all got in on the.
That's why the team is the
Chukhadzhian
team,
train.
though. Yeah, that's
No,
why the team
really,
is the team.
I'm not afraid to, and either is Chris, obviously, but to step back and say, you know
Missed a
what,
step there.
Paulie was right. I was wrong because we do have a past performance. He fought the #1 guy twice, and both times he reinvented himself. Both times he did the things that we want to see top guys do. He adjusted. The first time he ran to survive. Let's get that out of the way. He moved to survive, just and he wasn't sure of what he could do, so he did that. And then the second time he made a decision. I'm going to try to win, and he showed in that fight that he could beat a lot of fighters. He just couldn't beat that guy. Because that guy is special. So, you know what? I don't know what the heck was wrong with me that I didn't put him in there. Thank God for Paul.
Well, Teddy, whatever was wrong with you is wrong with me. It's going around, apparently. It's contagious.
All right, so Paulie, tell me about Stanionis. Is part of it his amateur background? Lithuanian fighter. You talk about how much you admire the Eastern European fighters. European champion as an amateur.
That's why I didn't forget Chukhadzhian.
Right, exactly. But Stanionis, do you believe skill set wise he has what it takes to hold and retain maybe #1 at 147?
I think in a weight class that's a little bit lacking of we've kept repeating like a dead horse, beating on a dead horse here. I think there's a little bit of separation with the 1 and 2. Stanionis and Ennis. I think there's going to be a lot of debate from a lot of people, not just us, as far as 3, 4, and 5, right? The order in which they go, who belongs in there, who doesn't belong in there. But I think pretty much most boxing people, be it even in the media, who I criticize so much, or even among us in general here at ProBox TV, I really think that you'd be really shocked if they don't have Stanionis and Ennis at 1 and 2 right now, with the way the welterweight division currently stands. Stanionis has, sort of proven himself over the test of a little bit of time here. In a weight class that has been pretty inconsistent, Stanionis has been a consistent guy, and of course so has Ennis.
But 15-0, 9 knockouts. What do you think time will show, Chris, about the universal #2 right now, Stanionis? Young in his career, what do you think his ceiling is?
I think it's going to show that he's the goods. I think Stanionis would be a world champion in a lot of weight classes. Even though this weight class is a little bit weak right now, I think even in a good weight class, I think he would rise to the top. I really like what I see with him. He's so durable. He's so sturdy. He's physical. He's strong. He's durable. He's got the amateur pedigree. He's hungry. He's chomping at the bit. He wanted to fight Virgil Ortiz. They tried to fight like 4 times. The fight was just snake bitten, couldn't happen. He's willing to fight these guys. It's just he's been inactive. But I guarantee you, I could just look at this guy. He's one of those guys. He stays in the gym. He's working hard in silence. When his time comes, he'll be ready.
All right, so our #1, if you haven't guessed, Jaron Boots Ennis, #1 on everyone's list on this panel. Teddy, I got to start with you. Is he one of those guys where it seems as though the talent kind of left the weight class right as he was getting big? Now he's big. There's no one in the weight class. He might have to move up to 54. Is he just snake bitten, as Chris said, not about a particular fight, but about where he is in time in this division? What's your thought on it, Teddy?
Maybe he's fortunate, too. We're just looking at the negative side to it. Yeah, I get it. I understand. You're smart to ask that question. But maybe it's smart, too, that he's had, he's been around a while. He's got that record that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and everything else. But, sometimes you let something sit, on the stove a little longer, let it simmer a little longer, and you wind up having a better dish. Maybe it's good that you got rid of these superstars like Crawford and of course Spence, what happened with Spence, and there's still big question marks, but that they got cleaned out. And now he is the last guy there. He's at the top of the mountain. He's the last guy. Yeah, there's nobody to really fight to bring him to that legacy fight or to whatever you want to call it. You want to use the word legacy or to bring him to, that to have that dance partner, to bring him to that real, even though he's there, but I hate to use superstar status, and he's already there, but he's not there. He's there, but he's not quite there in certain ways. And this allows him to get there because everybody now will be saying, well, he's got no competition, which we don't think he does. And he's cleaned house. There's no one there. He's the top of the mountain. He's the last guy standing. He's got to go up because he's that good. he's bringing that kind of focus, that kind of sunlight, through a prism glass now, really concentrated in those kind of ways where before it got sprinkled out, got dispersed because you had those other superstars, guys named Spence and Crawford. So now it's all him. It's all him, and like he's got to go. He don't belong there anymore because he's too good. He's too good. So I think it's a positive in that way. Of course, it's going to be up to how the management team plays it, and what's there, and with obviously with Turkey Al-Sheikh in the mix, where he fits in one of those Riyadh season shows and all that stuff, and that who he does get. I mean, I think it's without even question that who does he get at the higher weight class. But now, again, he's bringing, I know he was always bringing something with him. He's bringing something extra with him now when he goes up with all the, now everyone's loaded. I mean, it's loaded at the next step up. And he's bringing something with him now to that next, he's bringing the last standing guy in the welterweight division, the top guy. He's bringing that now up to that division that's full of stars. That is just, I mean, it's just a matter of, it's like being in a candy store. Which one you pick. And he's going to have a chance to have a good spot there because of what he brings now, because of the attention being the solo man left at 147.
Do we hold that, Paulie, a little bit against him? Let me explain very quickly. If you took your average casual, not even casual, person on the street and put a gun to their head and said, name 3 boxers outside of the heavyweight division, they'd probably go Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard. They'd probably name some welterweights, right? Is it the idea that Boots is good, but we're used to historically, Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, we're used to historically good guys at 147. So is that kind of a negative, as Teddy was talking about positives and negatives, he's compared to some of the greatest of all time?
Well, it's been sort of the elephant in the room, right? That ever since we've seen some struggles with Boots, everybody's not wanting to talk about it. They've been talking about, oh, he's the next guy. But now we've been seeing some struggles, and nobody's been wanting to sort of visit that part of the conversation the way Teddy just did, So to quote Danny DeVito in Batman Returns when he played the Penguin, the direct approach. I like that. Teddy, I like it.
Love it, Teddy.
Bring it a direct approach.
But is it held against certain boxers because of the division they're in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, in this case it might be, but this needed to be said too. Ennis is good. He's talented. Let's leave it at that, right? He's talented. Yeah. But at the same time, there are struggles where you would normally want to find your top welterweight, and again, it's a very famous weight class, to be more dominant, to be a guy who could move up in weight and dominate there. Instead, you look at Ennis, he's not one guy at welterweight, but with 154 so loaded, can he dominate at 154? Is he one of those kind of welterweights? Now you're not so sure, so there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah. Chris, the big fish, small pond kind of thing at 147. One of the questions I have in a boxing sense is Roy Jones Jr. was able to win a title from 160 to heavyweight because he was faster and more technical than everybody. He wasn't necessarily, he was a power puncher at lower weight classes, but he wasn't, wow, he's the biggest 68 I've ever seen in my life. A lot of people, when you look at Ennis' style, you go, God, he's a big 47. He's not a big 54 necessarily. Does he have the build and the style to be successful at a higher weight class? Some guys don't.
I do think he does. I do think he does the build and the style. I remember the first time I met him, I'm like, that's the biggest welterweight I've ever seen in terms of just, his hands, everything, just the way he's filled in.
Just wait till they let weigh-ins be 3 days before the weigh-in. Then you see how big
the previous week. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. The issue with 54 is not the size. The issue with 54 is the talent. Those guys are really, really good. And, Jimmy, you mentioned all those other fighters. When you talk about, who are the most famous fighters? You mentioned the De La Hoya and the Robinson and Leonard. What do those guys all have? Willing dance partners, epic performances. Yeah. Ron has neither, and he's had neither. So he hasn't had the willing dance partner. He hasn't had, or I should say the legitimate dance partner. Yes. He hasn't had the epic nights and the epic performances yet. Will he get them at 47? Well, from us doing this ranking show, probably not. But in terms of going up to 54...
Can you imagine what it'd be like,
Yeah, can you imagine what it'd be like, though? Listen, and again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to imagine. Perfect world, right now, I get Jaron Ennis versus Mario Barrios, and I get Stanionis and Brian Norman in a tournament style. Yep. Winners fight, we get a unified. Losers fight. the winner of the losers bracket gets the first defense against
too
the
much
number guy.
sense, champ.
Right? Okay.
Also, we
Is
gotta
it
let
that hard?
We gotta let Nicholas Floss in. He's too good. I'm thinking
Well,
tired
okay,
of Nicholas.
I'll make a bracket. We'll figure
All
it
right,
out.
Nicholas Floss would be our alternate. We'll get another in. We'll make an 8-man tournament. We'll figure out something here at ProBox TV. Appreciate everybody on the panel. Teddy, love your honesty every single time. The ranking show. Don't miss it on YouTube. That's what we'll be posting. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Also, December 7th. Don't forget, Ireland was so great. We're going back. All Irish main event. It's going to be a banger.
Don't forget to be thankful.
ProBox TV Contender Series. On December 7th, look for an all-out Irish war as Dylan the Real Deal Moran battles Tyrone the Mighty Celt McKenna at the top of a stacked ProBox-worthy card.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing.